สวัสดีค่ะ Very good evening and welcome to Thai PBS World Tonight. I'm Nan Bunag.
I'm Tulip Naksompoplao.
And we'll begin tonight with the latest on the restrictions as the number of COVID-19 infections are increasing. The Public Health Ministry will propose to the CCSA subcommittee today or tomorrow that they will increase restrictions in 6 red zone provinces, including Bangkok, where cumulative COVID-19 infections since the beginning of April exceed 500 cases. To make sure that the new virus variants carried by people arriving from abroad do not spread out of quarantine facilities, Dr. Opat Karnkawin-Pong, Director General of the Disease Control Department, said that the ministry will propose the CCSA subcommittee to extend the quarantine period from 10 to 14 days and require all those under quarantine to remain in their rooms during their entire isolation period. Dr. Opat also said today that the daily infections for the past several days is a matter of serious concern, and the Ministry of Public Health finds it necessary to tighten preventive measures in Bangkok, Chiang Mai, Chonburi, Nonthaburi, Samut Prakan, and Prajop Khiri-Khan. And in Bangkok, the additional restrictions become effective today and will remain for the next 2 weeks. Dr. Opat also said that the ministry is closely monitoring the situation in the northeastern province of Nakhon Ratchasima and in Nakhon Si Thammarat in the south. Meanwhile, 2,048 new COVID-19 infections and 8 more deaths have been recorded today. Of the new infections today, 1,991 cases are among those under observation in hospitals and 47 were found during active screening. So the cumulative infections in Thailand since early last year are now 57,508 with 148 deaths in total. And currently there are around 25,000 people still receiving treatment, including 563 severe cases with 150 of them on ventilators. So if we really look at the daily new infections during the past week, we're seeing that the numbers are still increasing almost every day. And notably yesterday, 11 deaths were recorded, which was the highest number of deaths since the pandemic began in Thailand.
And all these high records numbers bring many provinces to the order to make wearing masks compulsory, and Bangkok included. And this become a discussion today whether you have to wear it when you are driving by yourself. We know for sure that if there are other people in the car, you have to wear it. Everybody have to wear it, even though they are from the same family, because you're outside your home, in the outdoor area, in the open area, you have to wear a mask. So today, people in Bangkok are reminded to wear face masks properly. This is an important word, properly, not under your chin, not on the side, not on your neck. It have to cover your mouth and cover your nose. And people have to wear face masks properly when they leave home or when they are outdoors from today onwards, or they may face a fine up to 20,000 baht. Bangkok Governor Aswin Kwanmyeong said today that although Section 51 of the Communicable Disease Act sets the maximum fine at 20,000 baht, authorities are empowered to use their discretion to reduce the fine as they think fit. He explained that the real intention of this measure is not to fine the offenders, but to make people more aware that lowering their guard will lead to the spread of COVID-19. The governor said that he believes every household already has face masks, and if you don't want to be fined, then you must wear a face mask every time you are outdoors, because you will save yourself and prevent the spread of the disease to other people around you. So the governor also urged people to alert the police or health officials if they see anyone not wearing face masks when they are outside their home. A random street survey conducted by Thai PBS reporter today found most people wearing their face masks. But like I said, there's still a question of whether you have to wear face mask when you're driving your car by yourself. Meanwhile, the Deputy Director General of the Region 9 Anti-Corruption Office of the Attorney General, Mr. Gosonwat Intujanyong, said that the law states clearly that everyone must wear a face mask while they are outdoor. This means that a person driving in a private car alone is required to wear a face mask properly, which covers their nose and mouth. This means wearing a face mask under the chin or nose is improper and can be subject to a fine. But actually, after this statement, there was another statement from the Bangkok Metropolitan Administration officials say that if you buy yourself your car, you don't need to wear a face mask. So this is still a point of debate, whether you have to wear a face mask when you're by yourself in your own car. I mean, if you are in public places, in the mass transportation, of course you have to wear a mask. I think when we were first experiencing the outbreak earlier last year, people were more anxious, stricter, and more serious about all this measure. And I think because we already went through the outbreak twice, and most people not infected, so this time some people still not feel that it is necessary to be super strict again. But you can see the number of 4 digits is a lot.
And I'm not sure if this is appropriate to say, but officials have been saying that people have been slacking off in complying with the measures, and that was probably why we're seeing big numbers during the past couple of weeks. 1,000, 2,000, that is a lot for Thailand compared to last year where we're only seeing like at most would be 3 digits, but 4 digits this time round. That is a lot here. So that is why many provinces, including Bangkok, has imposed a restriction where they impose a measure that you must wear a face mask outside or else you'll be fined up to 20,000 baht. And Bangkok is one of the latest provinces to impose such a measure.
And also limit the hours of all this entertainment or department store places that people can just hang out together. Hopefully that will help.
Yes, and meanwhile, a group of Thai medical professionals has issued a statement asking the Prime Minister to reconsider locking down the country again as a matter of urgency, citing the rapid spread of the latest wave of COVID-19 infections and fears that the medical system will collapse. The statement also criticizes the government's management ability, especially the 1668 hotline, which is supposed to help find beds for COVID-19 patients, is an indicator that management is failing. It also said that people do not have equal access to treatment, and some are paying for that with their lives. The group also recommends that the government lift the mandate requiring any hospital detecting a new case to admit the patient. It said the order is impractical, resulting in too many people waiting for beds. The statement also recommends that the government let asymptomatic patients self-isolate at home with organized follow-up and preparedness to transfer them to hospital if needed. They claim the field hospitals seen in news coverage are, quote unquote, for public relations purposes and do not reflect an understanding of the impending problems and exceed the available but limited number of medical professionals in the country. The group also said they have been doing their best and will continue to do so, but they also need dependable management as well.
I would say those are very strong words from medical personnel to the Prime Minister. Very strong words. And beside that group, there are also several groups of medical personnel that also campaign on social media, asking for signatures for different various kind of calls and requests to the government. And I'm sure you probably heard some of those, like one of them being that they are asking the public health minister to resign. Yeah. And let's move on to another measure Thailand trying to come up with to help contain the spread of the COVID-19. We are talking about the new variant. It has the nickname as India variant because it was first covered in India. It's a double mutate coronavirus. It also been discovered in Australia, in UK, in US as well, but because it was first known in India and believed to be the cause of the latest big surge in India number of cases, that's why it got that name. So CCSA has temporarily suspended all arrivals of non-Thai citizens from India, Pakistan, and Bangladesh in an escalated effort to prevent the spread of this new variant into Thailand. However, the arrivals of Thai nationals from the 3 South Asian countries are allowed, but they are subject to 21-day mandatory state quarantine instead of the normal 14 days. The tougher restrictions came after 7 Indian nationals who arrived in Thailand on April 17 among 149 passengers on Air India flight AI0332 were found to be infected and were sent to hospitals for treatment. The report of the infected arrivals triggered widespread criticism of the Thai government on the social media for its policy of opening the country to arrivals from India, despite COVID-19 infections that are surging exponentially to over 300,000 cases per day due to a more contagious variant of the virus. So for Thai nationals who want to return home, they must register first at the Thai embassies or consular offices. The Thai government allows 11 groups of foreigners from various countries to enter Thailand. These include investors, businessmen, those who have Thai families, hold work permits, and those who are seeking medical treatment in Thailand that is not COVID-19 infection. Meanwhile, the Office of Civil Aviation of Thailand has denied a report on social media that a charter flight from India carrying a group of wealthy Indian citizens was allowed to land in Thailand. That news, actually, it was reported by AFP and the AP, if I remember correctly, that there are groups of wealthy Indian that try to get away from situation in India and go stay elsewhere like United Arab Emirates. Thailand was mentioned a little bit as one of the alternative destinations, but they mostly picked the UAE.
Right. And now let's move on to the issue of vaccine distribution. The Prime Minister has made vaccine distribution the most urgent national priority following a meeting with an advisory board earlier today to find a practical process for the distribution. Prime Minister General Prayut Chan-o-cha said in his Facebook post that the government will procure more vaccines with the goal of making 10 to 15 million doses available per month. The government is coordinating with the private sector to ensure more inoculation facilities are made available to ease the workload on hospitals and public health officials in the national vaccination effort. He mentioned places such as conference halls, sports stadia, hotels, and private hospitals. He also said the government will make the integrated structure clear to all agencies and private organizations to ensure that vaccine distribution is both thorough and proactive. The Prime Minister also said that these processes will enable the country to achieve the goal of at least 300,000 doses being administered per day. So 50 million people will be inoculated this year. So this is according to the Prime Minister's Facebook post.
So you already addressed that we are now having a problem with the vaccine distribution. It's not how many we procure or we acquired. It's how fast we can distribute it, and hopefully the plan would work. And now talking about a different kind of plan that every country that have been going through COVID-19 now facing the economic problem, Thailand as well. So the government is prepared to launch the third economic relief campaign. The Thai government by the Finance Ministry is planning to launch a third economic relief package soon with a 300 billion baht budget. Earlier, the Bank of Thailand has launched a new soft loan package worth 350 billion to boost small companies. The government has about 240 billion baht left from the 1 trillion it borrowed last year to finance relief packages for people and businesses. Experts said if the government implement extra relief packages, economic growth could rise higher than 1.8%. So the ministry said that the relief package will be designed to alleviate the burden of the people, quote unquote, and to boost domestic spending and consumption. So Prime Minister Prayut Chan-o-cha has been facing public criticism over his management of the crisis, especially in sourcing vaccines. The government is targeting 2 million vaccinations in the first half of the year and 61 million in the second half. Experts said that judging from the slow rate of vaccination, the government is unlikely to meet its vaccination target. Missing those targets is likely to delay Thailand's reopening for foreign tourists, which is vital for recovery from the first wave of COVID-19, which saw the Thai economy shrink 6.1% last year. So Executive Chairman of the Kasikorn Research Center, Charles Kenchon, said that the key factor governing economic recovery is the rate of vaccination. If the latest wave cannot be contained or a fresh outlook occurs in the third quarter, the return of foreign tourists will be postponed for another 1 year. He also warned that the most pressing issue is vaccine distribution to fill gaps in the public health system. A daily caseload of more than 1,000 for a month would put the healthcare system at risk of collapse. This worst-case scenario would result in huge hidden costs of the economy. The cost of living would rise and access to medical treatment would be limited. This could lead to a sharp drop in labor productivity, and damage would be beyond tourism and consumption.
And you just mentioned tourism. So on this episode of Empowering Thai Women, we recently interviewed the former Minister of Tourism and Sports, Kun Kopkan Wattanawrangkool. So she will reflect her experience working as the minister when the country's image was in crisis, as well as her way of working as a businesswoman.
My personal philosophy or my personal mission is to bring good things to life. Bring good things to life meaning that whatever we are doing, namely business, namely industry, namely banks, or namely tourism and sports, is to help people to have a better living, and especially people in Thailand.
Kopkan Wattanawrangkool is widely recognized as one of the most successful businesswomen in Thailand, who once served as the Minister of Tourism and Sports in the first cabinet of Prime Minister General Prayut Chan-o-cha. Kopkan reflects that the way of working in private and government sectors are completely different. As she explains, business CEOs can take control of their own direction and quickly adapt to the changes.
But in the government side, in the ministry, there's a rules and regulation, certain rules and regulation that you need to follow. And you cannot make decision by yourself. You need to get approval of the cabinet. You need to get approval of certain group of people according to the protocol, according to the rules and regulation. And then I understand why many things tend to be slow, because you need to follow them. In the private sector, we understand that budget is one thing, but time is more important. You need to have the good project happen at certain period of time. And maybe we don't need that big budget, but we need action at the right place at the right time.
Back in 2014, when Kopkan was appointed as a minister, she had no experience working under the government. As the first woman to take up the tourism portfolio, especially when the country's image was in crisis, some of the cabinet members even questioned her ability as a politician.
I remember the first meeting, the cabinet meeting. I think Dr. Vishnu said that I worried about Kun Kopkan because she's from, 100% private sectors. That probably they want someone with the new way of perspective, not the normal, usual ways of work. And at that time, we have to rescue the country, rescue the image, rescue the economy, because after the yellow shirt and red shirt, the tourists, they were afraid, they were reluctant whether Thailand was safe enough to travel. And the picture going out via the like CNN, BBC, they were like, something burned, the riots everywhere in town. And so therefore, in order to call back the confidence and make sure that they understand what we are doing, what is the real situation of Thailand. So we need to be very quick. We need to find creative way to communicate.
Being in the public eye as a politician under the junta government also means having to put up with a lot of criticism. Despite that, Gopgan sticks to her purpose, which she said was to help the country.
I have nothing to fear, not because I'm so brave, but because nothing to lose. Once we are given our tasks, whatsoever we have to achieve. And the way we have to achieve is not only just, okay, I will do it, but give me the budget. I will do it, but you have to give me all the weapons or all the machines. For us, we always work the hard way. Whatever we have on our hands, we do our best. Maybe we have only this very small budget, but we make it as if it is like 10 times more value. Sometimes I have to dare to risk, even with many advice. Many times advice say, you don't do it. But I said, I have to measure. If I don't do it, maybe I save myself, but I will not save the country. And many times, okay, if I have to risk, okay, I'll risk.
Now that Gopgan has returned to the business world, when asked whether her leadership style has changed over the years, she says she feels that it is normal for every CEO to change as they age, gain experience, and learn from crises they've overcome. Despite how successful she has been as a businesswoman or as a minister, the key to maintaining her success is to always be open to new ideas.
We should act as 16 if you are 60, meaning open your mind for new ideas. I talk to young generation. I believe in young generation. Even though I have been successful with some of the work I have done in the past, I don't stick to that. It doesn't mean that I will always be successful in the future. So I have to listen to new ideas. I have to act as a young gen. I think that regardless of gender, whether you are a man or a woman, I think to be CEO is a tough job. Women can be good in certain things, but not all the time. Some people said that women CEO can be too sensitive, too details. We are good in commitment. We are very honest. But then again, it doesn't mean male CEO not honest, not capable, not sensitive. I think partly can be partly gender, but I think more on individual. And you must open up your mind to understand that and keep on developing yourself.
This year, Gopgan will also host the committee for the Global Summit of Women in Bangkok, where she is committed to using the opportunity to reintroduce Thailand in a better light through leading Thai women.
If you had heard negative things about Thai women, that was the past. We have gone through so many things already for so long. But probably you would not believe us if we just send you the message. You better come and see by yourself who we are. And that's why we are now committed to this. We have a great name of the host committee from various sectors who believe in the same thing, that we are not glorify only business, but we want to reintroduce Thailand, representing Thailand, and making sure that people understand who we really are and what the future will be through women CEO. Believe in yourself. You are one red brick. You can be just one red brick, but you can be a part of a great architecture. But you have your power, you have your value, and what you are doing has value. The team that you are working also have value. Think positively, understand your weak point, enhance your strong point, and make it happen. Don't wait.
And that's all the news we have in this edition of Thai PBS World Tonight. You can find more interesting things about Thailand, about ASEAN, and a lot of not just hard news, soft news as well on our website, www.thaipbsworld.com. We have YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok.
And that wraps up tonight's edition of Thai PBS World Tonight. Thanks for watching. Stay safe, and we'll see you tomorrow. สวัสดีค่ะ
สวัสดีค่ะ